Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Oscar prediction video where today I will be taking a look at the category of Best Original Screenplay. So, it's kind of funny how adapted screenplay was one of the very first categories I looked at, whereas original screenplay is now one of the very last categories I'm going to be looking at. With adapted, there was a clear frontrunner. Conclave was so far ahead of the competition, there wasn't much point in discussing it. And now, in original screenplay, it is a dead heat between three contenders. And honestly, I, as of this moment, don't know what could win. There is a chance that I change my mind in between now and the Oscars, which I never want to say. I feel really nervous about locking in my prediction at this stage. I feel like I'm going to be back and forth right until the day. But I'm going to have to make a choice sometime. Fifth most likely to win is September 5. Okay, so this is the film's only nomination, and I personally feel that it is a deserving one. The movie, of course, tells the real-life story of what happened during the Munich Olympics in the 1970s, and as documented before in the movie Munich, but this time told entirely from the perspective of the reporters who were meant to be covering the Olympics and ended up having the only available footage of what was happening right across the street from them. So, very, very powerful film. The thing about this movie is, as good as it is, and as much as it feels like a contender, there have always been people who have been very hesitant to go anywhere near this film because of the Israel-Palestine connection. And even though this movie takes place a long time ago when the relations between Israel and Palestine were very, very different from what they are today. And even though the film was made before the most recent war began, there is still a lot of people so hesitant to go near it. And I thought for a period of time that this could potentially get a Best Picture nomination, and it got in at Golden Globes, it got in at PGA. I thought it could get into editing. I thought it could be a bigger contender overall, but at the end of the day, it just got this one nomination for screenplay. That was as far as the Academy was willing to go. And the thing is, I know that this movie does have fans who will want to support it, but clearly not enough fans. This is the film's only nomination. I really don't see it winning on just one nomination, which is a shame. It's a very good film. Fourth most likely to win is The Brutalist. So this is funny. For a movie that's been a top 5 awards contender for so much of the year, the screenplay itself has never really been one of the defining factors of the film. Because when you see it, it really is more of a director's vision. Everyone wants to talk about how, oh my gosh, can you believe that this director made a movie of this scope with so little money? And that's the element that everyone wants to talk about. And the script has always been fine, but it's never been the focus of the conversation surrounding this movie. The script works very well for what it does. It tells a very big story without ever feeling like it's filled with too much filler. And it works. The script is very, very reliable, but it's just not the aspect anyone thinks about after they're done with the movie. It's kind of like, I was thinking recently about Oppenheimer last year, how that movie, even though it won Best Picture, for some reason it could never take home a screenplay prize, which is a shame. I think that movie maybe deserved a little bit more love in the screenplay category. With this particular film, there's really not much to say. It really hasn't won any precursors for screenplay, even though it's very loved. It's just one of those unfortunate situations where the screenplay is there. The screenplay is obviously a great foundation to go off of, but it's not the part of the film that anyone's really writing home about. Third most likely to win is A Real Pain. Ooh boy, it begins. So, back when I saw this movie, one of the main thoughts that I had was that this movie could be a very serious threat to win original screenplay. Honestly, more so original screenplay than supporting actor. I was more taken by the writing as opposed to what Culkin was doing. Because it's so writerly, it's so dialogue heavy, there's so much discussion on the movie's themes in the dialogue, and it just seemed like the sort of thing that voters were gonna go for. But then the movie was left out of the top 10 for Best Picture, and I was like, well, there goes that dream, to quote the Banshees of Inisherin. This movie, it had its fun. It's going to win supporting actor probably, but screenplay is definitely not a possibility. Or so I thought until BAFTA. This movie winning original screenplay at BAFTA was a big shock, and it had a lot of people wondering, could this actually happen? So here's the thing. Ever since the preferential ballot era of the expanded Best Picture lineup, we have never seen a movie without a Best Picture nomination go on to win original screenplay or adapted screenplay. The last time a movie won screenplay without a Best Picture nomination was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind back in 2004. And again, you can always argue that that movie would have gotten a Best Picture nomination had it been a year of 10. So now, we really can't make that argument anymore. And I sometimes I like to say, oh, stats only matter until they don't. Sometimes there's a reason to go away from what the stats are telling you. But this particular stat just seems too big to fail, really. It seems like there are so many foundational elements. A screenplay is arguably the most important aspect of making a movie. If you have a bad script, the movie is going to be bad no matter what. And if you have a good script, the movie is at least going to be passable no matter how much everyone else screws up. The script is king. The script is above everything else. And so, the idea that a movie could be good enough to win a screenplay but not good enough to get nominated for Best Picture is just insane to me. My mind cannot comprehend that this could happen. And the thing is, a part of me thinks it could because the script is so writer-friendly. It's the most dialogue-based nominee here. And I cannot actually predict it. A part of me wants to, but it would just be such a giant leap. It would fly in the face of stats everywhere, and I can't fully commit to that. Second most likely to win is The Substance. Okay, so I have been racking my brain about this for a really long time, because usually in this category, the screenplay that is the most original tends to have a leg up on the competition. It's called Best Original Screenplay, but sometimes most original is really what wins out. And we've seen in the past with winners like Get Out, Promising Young Woman, Everything Everywhere, these movies were benefited by the fact that they were original. People look at the script and they go, who thinks of that? And that certainly does apply to The Substance. However, as I just talked about with A Real Pain, another things that writers really like to reward is dialogue. To a lot of people, good writing equals good dialogue. And The Substance lacks dialogue for a lot of the runtime. There are long chunks of the movie in which no words are said at all. Which obviously does not mean the script is poorly written, because you just take a look at it, the script does some really creative things in the formatting of it. I was really amazed when I read it and I found that anytime Elizabeth is talking to the voice on the phone, the script doesn't say voice on phone and then the dialogue like you would normally expect. Instead, those lines are baked into the action of the script itself, which just has this really surreal feeling like this voice is something beyond just a character in a story. It's almost like Elizabeth is arguing with the screenplay itself, which is just, you can read into that in so many interesting ways. So this is a fascinating screenplay. It would be my vote, but for a lot of voters, it just doesn't have the dialogue aspect. And not to mention, there are a lot of voters who are turned off of this movie for a myriad of reasons. Voters who think it's too much, or voters who think that it's too on the nose, which it is, that's the point. It's just not going to be every Oscar voter's cup of tea. And whereas Demi Moore does have a bit of a narrative in Best Actress in that she's been in the industry for a long time, Coralie Farjat as a writer does not really have that narrative. And so I don't really know if there's going to be much impotence to reward it other than the fact that it's the most original. But it did win Critics' Choice, which is really, really interesting. And I would go for it. I did seriously think about going for it. But at the end of the day, my prediction, number one most likely to win, is Anora. So This screenplay, again, very good. It's not as writerly as A Real Pain, but it's not as sparse as The Substance. It's that Goldilocks right in the middle. And this is a movie that a lot of people are convinced is going to win Best Picture. So, naturally, you would expect Screenplay to go along with that. And in fact, early on, a lot of people believed that it might win Screenplay only, and that maybe it could win Picture alongside Screenplay. Now it's kind of the reverse effect, where people are like, okay, we know it's winning Picture, could it take Screenplay with it as well? Because here's the thing, for a movie that should be the most logical choice to win in this category, why hasn't it won more precursors? It lost the BAFTA to A Real Pain. And you would think that they would like Anora well enough to give it screenplay. The screenplay is such a defining element of the movie, and they gave it to Mikey Madison, but no, they awarded A Real Pain. And then Critics' Choice gave Best Picture to Anora, but they gave their screenplay category to The Substance. So it can't win there, even though it won Picture there. And then, finally, the one precursor it does have is WGA, but, asterisk, at WGA, The Substance was not eligible. So, once you really lay it out like that, it really makes you wonder how competitive Anora is, really. And I went back and forth on this. And there was a while where I was legitimately going to predict The Substance here. And then what changed my mind is once I realized that I was going to predict Demi Moore to win Actress. And once I thought of that, I was like, there is no way that this movie is winning both Best Actress and Best Original Screenplay. Like, The Substance is not a top 5 contender for Best Picture. I cannot justify predicting it to win 2 above-the-line categories. And maybe I should, just to be like that kid in school that is like, oh, if you do both of these on a test, you're guaranteed to get at least one right. I feel like either Demi takes Actress and Anora takes Screenplay, or The Substance takes Screenplay and Mikey Madison takes Actress. I feel like it's one of those two situations, and I don't know which one it is. But ultimately, I went with Demi Moore and Actress for all the reasons that I've listed above, and the fact that The Substance is so much for some voters, and a lot of voters are going to be turned off by where it goes in its third act. And I think Anora is just generally the better liked movie. It makes more sense as a screenplay winner. I don't understand how it hasn't won more precursors, but sometimes, I know I said earlier you gotta trust the precursors, but this is tricky because it's a 3-way tie. All of these movies have won something, and for whatever reason, I was thinking back to film editing in 2021 when we were all expecting Dune to be the frontrunner, and then it didn't win any of the precursors, and we were like, why hasn't Dune won any of the precursors? Clearly it's weak. And then we were trying to figure out what was going to win, and it ended up being Dune anyway. Our initial gut impressions were right all along, but for whatever reason, it couldn't pick up precursors. I'm guessing that this is like that for whatever reason, it was weak with the precursors, but it's going to take home the Oscar. I don't know. I really, really don't know. And I wouldn't blame you if you did predict The Substance or even A Real Pain, but Anora is just what makes the most sense to me, so I'm going to go with Anora for now. So thank you very much for watching, and tune in tomorrow when I will be taking a look at the category of Best Film Editing. See you then.